Random thoughts. In this video, I'm going to read some part of the book First Steps in East Africa by one Captain Sir Richard Burton. And this is a book in which he describes his travels to Harar and what happened. And this is a book that was published in 1850s, late 1850s. And this expedition, as he calls it, happened in 1854, beginning 1854 actually. And this is an expedition that had been requested and funded by the East India Company. This was a British company that managed India and colonized it for a while. And so Richard Burton was selected to go to Harar and basically collect information. And he wasn't going there in a transparent manner. He was going there as a merchant, an Arab merchant, in fact. And the reason for that is that Harar had been very cautious and did not welcome Europeans. No European had stepped into Harar. And so the British thought they wanted to go to Harar. And in addition to that, the reason why they wanted to do that includes them wanting to control the port of Berbera. Seems like they thought that was a port that was so important that they had to control it. And in order for them to take that step, they needed to understand what was happening in Harar. Now, in this video, I'm going to read a place where he basically introduces the people he was with, the people he went with. And while he's doing that, he tells us some very interesting things about the people of Somali origin, and these are the people he was going to visit. And before I read this book, or before I started reading this book, there's something I did not know, and that is the fact that when he was going to Harar, in fact, the people who accompanied him, besides the 3 or 4 other British officers, was in fact mostly Somali. And I found that to be very interesting. And most of these Somali people, he picked them from Aden in southern Yemen, where he first went to, and then he was given these people by the government there, we can say. Now, there is a part of the book where he says that he was accompanied by close to 70 people, such a huge number. Of course, when he went to Harar, I don't think he went with all these people. Most of these people waited for him, and I'm going to find out that as I read the book. Maybe that's not the case, but that's what I'm thinking, going at least by the summaries that I've read. Now, in the first chapter, he does introduce these people to us. For example, he says that, and he says, I will now introduce you to my companions. And the first person he introduces is a guy who went by the name Mohammed Mahmoud. He calls him Hammal, or the porter, and he was like, we can say, the charge of the ship that they were going to use from Aden to the coast of East Africa. This Hammal, turns out he was a Somali himself. And this is what he says about him. He says, the Hammal is a bull-necked, round-headed fella of lymphatic temperament with a lamp black skin, regular features, and pulpy figure, 2 rarities amongst his countrymen who compare him to a banyan. An orphan in early youth, and becoming, to use his own phrase, sick of milk, he ran away from his tribe, the Habr Gerhajis, and engaged himself as a coal trimmer with the slaves on board an Indian war steamer. So I did some research, and Habr Gerhajis are basically a group of Somali, or could be some clan or sub-clan, and you can write in the comment section if that is what it is. Now, he also introduces us to the second person, and he says, the second servant whom I bring before you is Guled, another policeman at Aden. Now, the first guy was also a policeman at Aden. He is a youth of a good family belonging to Ismail Ara, the royal clan of the great Habr Gerhajis tribe. His father was a man of property, and his brethren near Berbera are wealthy Bedouin, yet he ran away from his native country when 7 or 8 years old, and he became a servant in the house of butter merchant at Mocha. Thence he went to Aden, where he began with private service and ended his career in the police. So this is another guy who comes from, we can say, the Horn of Africa. And it's very interesting that these people were accompanying him from Yemen, and I know why he picked them. In fact, he does mention that some of them were suggested or seconded to him by the government there, or the government authorities there, who will vet them. Seems like they were vetted to make sure that they were going to be of good service to him. And then he describes his features. And I found this book to be very interesting in that it's not like the majority of historical documents where it's just story, story, story. This guy seems to have written this book as if he was writing a literary work, like this is literature, like this is a novel or something of sort, because he writes in a very interesting way. For example, he describes this Guled using the following words. He is one of those long-lived skeletons common among the Somali. His shoulders are parallel with his ears, his ribs are straight as a mummy, his face has not an ounce of flesh upon it, and his features suggest the idea of some lank bird. We call him Long Gulad, to which he replies with the Yaman saying, length is honor, even in wood. So that's what they called him, and that's how he'll reply when they call him that. Now introduces us to the third person, and he says the third one is Abdi Abokr, also of the Habr Gerhajis, a personage whom, from his smattering of learning and his prodigious rascality, we call the mullah, end of time. He is one about 40, very old, looking for his age, with small, deep-set cunning eyes placed close together, and a hook nose, a thin beard, and bulging brow, scattered teeth, and short, scant figure, remarkable only for length of back. His gait is stealthy like a cat's, and he has an villainous grin. This worthy never prays and can neither read nor write, but he knows a chapter or two of the Quran. Recites audibly a long ratib or task, morning and evening, whence, together with his store of hushed hadith tradition, he derives the title of Widad or hedge priest. His tongue primed with the satirical saying of Ibn Zaid al-Halali and Hamid ibn Mansur is the terror of men upon whom reportee imposes. He tells us that his father was wealthy ship owner in his day, but cast with Abdi and another son. The old man has lost all his property. His children have deserted him, and he now depends entirely upon the charity of the Zaila chief. So all these people came from where he was going, and he describes them in a very interesting way. Now, while describing the habit, while describing the first individual he brings to us, and that is Al-Hammal, he brings out something about the nature of the Somali people that I found to be very interesting. And I want to invite you to share with me whether you think he was wrong about this, about the Somali people. And of course, it's a lot of generalization. Of course, when we talk about people as a group, there is always a danger of passing judgment that doesn't apply to everyone. That can become very dangerous. But I found this part where he talks about Al-Hammal in a certain way, and then he talks about that. Then he mentions that the Somali people can't hide their thoughts. I don't know how true that is, that the Somali people can't hide their thoughts, that they have this way of you can tell what they are thinking by just looking at them. This is what he says. The prodigious inventiveness and habit of perpetual intrigue acquired in his travels, he might be called knowing man. But for the truly Somali weakness of showing in his countenance all that passes through his mind, these people can hide nothing. The blank eye, the contracting brow, the opening nostril, the tremulous lip, betrays, despite themselves, their innermost thoughts. So I don't know how true that is, but I don't think I've noticed that. And in fact, whatever it describes, I think it's something that is common among people. It does not matter where they come from. I think that there are people you can tell what is going on in their mind. It does not matter where they come from. And there are people you can't really tell what they are thinking. It does not matter where they come from. But I find him describing this and then kind of like saying that that's what these people are, that you can so easily tell what is going on in their mind. But of course, again, it is very hard to tell what is somebody's thinking if you don't know what to look for. But some people are very good at telling what people are thinking. But that's a different conversation. Those are my random thoughts.